So I want to talk about the Hawaiian goodbye. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where you're at some sort of family event or birthday party and it's kind of getting late and it's time to get going. And as you make your way to the car, you say your goodbyes and then you end up talking story, and next thing you know, 1 hour later and you're not any closer to leaving the party, but your wife and kids are off to the side. And the wife gives you that look, that we should have left the party 30 minutes ago look. And yeah, that's not gonna be a fun car ride home. Now the Hawaiian goodbye is almost like Hawaiian time, but instead of being 10 minutes late for everything, it's more like it takes an extra 20 minutes to say your goodbyes. But it's a good thing and it's all part of our local culture. There's almost a real art to saying goodbye here in Hawaii. I mean, really, there's all these relationships you're trying to manage and maintain, and while your car is sitting just 30 feet away, sometimes it feels like it's like a mile or two down the road. And maybe you can relate. So I just want to share some of the things that I've noticed over the years in trying to say goodbye, especially at these family events or birthday parties. And if you have any advice, any practical advice for how to graciously say goodbye when it's getting 8, 9 o'clock and you gotta drive home, please let me know in the comments below. So I think we've all been there. You're at a family gathering, get plenty rice, the barbecue chicken is not too dry, lots of good conversation, but it's starting to get a little bit late. I mean, you don't want to be rude, but you start thinking about the traffic and possibly what you could be doing in that exact moment if you were at home, which for me is usually full immersion into my son's pre-bed routines. I mean, you want to leave, but the number of people to say goodbye to is so numerous that where do you even start? It was like this time recently where we went to a family dinner at a Chinese restaurant. I mean, the food was real good. It was so wonderful to see some family that I haven't seen for a really long time. But then I started looking down at my watch and I started thinking, well, it's kind of getting late. Boys, they gotta go to bed. When should we start heading out? And what ended up happening was the slow and methodical transition. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where everyone is sitting down and talking story. And then it's like, okay, everybody now stand up and talk story. And then after that, everyone transitions to, okay, everybody just go outside the eating area. You're still in the restaurant, but you're not around the tables anymore. And then you continue to talk story. And then from there, the last place is now the front of the restaurant where you continue to take pictures and talk story. And talking story in front of the restaurant is a wonderful thing with friends and family that you haven't seen in a while. It's just that when you want to go home, sometimes it's kind of hard to say goodbye. Now, fortuitously, some might say, at that moment when we were outside of the restaurant, my son had to go run off to the bathroom, and so that was our sort of excuse to book it and just say quickly, goodbye to everyone because we had to go to the bathroom. But my son is not always going to have to use the bathroom when it's time to leave these events. Sometimes there are just so many aunties and uncles and cousins and nephews and nieces and just people all over the place that it's very difficult to say goodbye properly to everyone. I kind of wish sometimes it was like, in sports where they line up everybody and they all shake hands to each other. Everybody just go in a line and just shake hands and say goodbye. You line up all the aunties and you go, or you line up all the uncles and you give them all the bro hug and you give them the bro hug and you give them the bro hug. Because here in Hawaii, like I'm sure in a lot of other places, it's really important to say goodbye properly. When I was growing up, my dad always told us, you gotta say 5 things. Hi, bye, please, thank you, and you're welcome. Now I can say for please, thank you, and you're welcome, I'm pretty good. But when it comes to hi and bye, boy, let's just say I gotta practice. Now, admittedly, I'm still working on my Hawaiian goodbye, but I just want to offer 3 pieces of advice for if you wanna leave an event here in Hawaii, like a birthday party or family outing, at a reasonable time. First, I try to set a hard time when we have to leave. Like that's the absolute, we gotta get out of here time. Then I communicate that to my wife, and I make sure that we start saying our goodbyes at least 15 minutes before that, just to give ourselves a little bit buffer room. That way you're not really in a rush, and if the uncle over there is calling you and pulls you aside and talks politics or sports or whatever it is, you know, the stuff that you guys usually talk about at these family gatherings, you don't feel like you're in a rush. And of course, this also puts me and my wife on the same page and helps me to avoid that, the look. And second, if the family party is just too big, you're gonna have to realize that you can't say goodbye to everyone personally, but at least prioritize the hosts and a certain handful of people that you really need to and want to say goodbye to. Now, personally, I think it's kind of rude to not say goodbye to the host. And for those times that I've done that, I felt extremely bad, because at the very least, it's a thank you, an opportunity to thank them for hosting and just bringing everybody together. Now, sometimes it's really hard to track down the host. They may be all over the place, and in those moments, it's kind of tough. Just, give them a call or a thank you text. But to me, if somebody in Hawaii opens up your house to you and invites you to come, man, you better like track them down good and make sure that you know where exactly they are when it's time to leave, because when you open up your house, to me, that's very special. Now, also, I try to prioritize the people that I do want to say goodbye to personally. And usually for me, it's my parents, my brother, my aunties, and my cousins. And I'm not perfect in this. There's times when I just gotta go, and I'm sorry, but hopefully they understand. Yeah, I just gonna see you later, but hey, it was good seeing you again. Goodbye. Hopefully we have that family understanding. And if they don't say goodbye, I understand too. I got 2 kids. But it's something that I try to do, and I'm admittedly still working on it. And third, practice the group goodbye. And don't worry if nobody acknowledges you, no shame. Now, this one is actually really hard for me to do because it's so impersonal, and for a moment, you are stopping the party and saying to everybody, hey guys, look at me, I'm about to leave, bye. And it just seems so strange to me. And really, for me, there's a big fear that nobody's even gonna notice us leaving or having left the party. And so this group goodbye is very tough, which is why I hardly ever do it. But you know what? It's better than nothing. And it's awkward. And the thing is, yeah, when you say it, it's awkward. But once you leave and everyone says bye, everyone just goes back to doing what they were doing, and it was no big deal. And I can just hear now some of the aunties and uncles, hey, get off the table. But sorry, this was the only place that, that was dry. This was the only place. Everything else is all wet. Sorry about that. One of the things I love about Hawaii is how we love to get together with family and friends. Good food, good conversation, maybe some music in the background or TV. Man, so many good memories of family parties. And like other parts of our culture, there are certain rules or etiquette to saying goodbye. And maybe you never put much thought into it if you're from here, but we all kind of operate under the same system. And here in Hawaii, this can be particularly challenging because you throw in a sprinkle of talk story, and what was supposed to be a 10-second goodbye could end up turning into a 20 or 30-minute conversation. But all in good fun. But as I thought more and more about this Hawaiian goodbye, I started thinking about talk story and the invaluableness or pricelessness of those moments. When you're engaged with someone else in conversation, you're not in a rush, you're just talking about things, and it's a wonderful back and forth between 2 people where you're just catching up, or you're just diving deep into whatever topic it is that you're both interested in. And I think about how absolutely priceless it is with certain individuals, even if we don't realize it at the time. How I'd give almost anything to have a goodbye conversation with my grandma and grandpa again. That instead of me just hugging them and running out the door, we'd stand by the door and talk a little bit. And then we'd move to the patio outside, and she'd offer me a soda, and we keep talking a little bit. And then we'd stand in her driveway and we talk a little bit. And then I get in the car and I'm in the driver's seat, and we talk a little bit. And as she's waving goodbye as I'm driving away, she's still talking about certain things and continuing the conversation. And yeah, you can never get that back. And so maybe in that sense, Hawaiian goodbyes are a little bit long and can be very awkward, but maybe they often also go unappreciated until it's all gone. So thanks for watching, and aloha.